Back on TYT Sports, Friday afternoon in the studio. It's a Friday afternoon feeling, Francis. You have the dog in town. Not in town, but you have the dog.
Oh!
Hey!
And there she is.
Dog cam.
Hi, Luna.
She's very excited to talk about the Boston Celtics.
She is very, she's got a great representation of what my job was earlier when I was trying to understand how the trades work. Because I have firmly grasped how this sport works. It's not genius. You don't need to be a genius to understand how basketball works. But when it comes down to like what I was reading up on the research, I'm like, okay, Westbrook goes, they get the Brooklyn Nets pick of 2019 plus 12 backdated years, and then all of a sudden I am Marty McFly and I'm trying to think into the future.
Yeah, they get an advanced copy of Back to the Future 4. It's a hell of a deal they're going to get.
So that's what I was trying to figure out. But and then I ended up looking a little bit like that and realized that I'm best saving my analysis for how the teams will play with these players and let you do the picks, and I'll just talk about what happens after.
Right. So what we're getting to here is that the Boston Celtics are speculatively looking to make a big trade. Now, Hoops Rumors, USA Today's rumors site, and also Hoops Hype have been back and forth via different writers saying that some of these trades are in serious talks and some of these trades are complete speculation. However, given the fact that Russell Westbrook is going to be a free agent next year, and a lot of teams are looking to sign an all-NBA first-team point guard to bolster a team that could already make a run in the playoffs and maybe put them over the edge, given the fact that they signed Al Horford. Isaiah Thomas would probably be a trade piece, but again, an all-star point guard and a bunch of good role players, defensive players, wings, shooters, rim protectors. I mean, we're talking like the Celtics have everything in store to make these big deals happen. So technically do the Lakers and, believe it or not, the Clippers. So let's get to the first one, and this has to do with the Russell Westbrook trade. This comes from hoopsrumors.com. Then we'll get into the trade machine, one of my favorite things ever. So Devaney, who was writing for the Sporting News, cited a possible three-team trade that would send Griffin to the Celtics, Rudy Gay from the Kings to the Clippers, but Waikiki sees a team that built around Gay, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Jordan as less likely than the current roster to be a contender in the West, and Griffin has 2 seasons and about $41.5 million left on his contract. Now, Griffin's a cheap superstar, given the fact that $20.5, $21 million a year is going to be far less next year than when you got guys signing $28 million contracts. The cap goes up again. Keep that in mind. So I don't mean cheap as in, look, a cheap $20 million player. I mean comparatively to what we're going to see with free agency in the coming years. So that trade machine would look like this. So the Celtics would get Griffin and his $20.1 million salary. The Clippers would get Rudy Gay and $13.3 million salary, which is actually pretty cheap. And the Sacramento Kings, they don't have an option for picks or cash in the trade machine. So we're going to imagine in the Sacramento Kings box some form of a first-round pick and some form of cash also going their way. And it would also be very interesting because if the Kings trade away Rudy Gay, DeMarcus Cousins at some point has to be banging on the door of the front office saying, "Let me out! Trade me!" This organization is crazy. Actually, I like that deal. I like the idea of Rudy Gay in a Clippers uniform. I think it fills an immediate need. I don't think Rudy Gay would be, I shouldn't say not a tremendous impact, but it's a player that fills an immediate need for the Celtics and the Clippers, and we've been through this 100 times. Blake probably just doesn't work in crunch time with the Clippers. I think he needs at this point a change of scenery. Maybe a different offense, a different system. The Celtics, where they have Al Horford, they have Isaiah Thomas if they try to make a run for Russell Westbrook. Geez, all these teams could be changing so much. All right, so really quick, the other big trade, Francis, go to the trade machine. I made this one because this is what I think it would roughly look like, mostly because the money is near enough to match, and I would think that the Celtics would have to throw in a pick to make this happen too. Again, you can't add picks. But Avery Bradley, Isaiah Thomas, I get 2 point guards. Bradley can really play the two if you wanted, but I think you have to trade Isaiah Thomas to the Thunder if you want to get a Russell Westbrook in return. And again, look how cheap Thomas is for the next 2 years.
Yeah. The only thing is, it's like it's so counterintuitive to what it seems like the Celtics have been working towards, right? Bringing in Russell Westbrook's an immediate all-star into your team. How will he work in the system? He's a great player, so you imagine they'll build a system around him. Just what we've seen last year with Marcus Smart and Isaiah Thomas, it seems like there's something being worked on there, right? And you like to believe that a sporting franchise not said franchise in a while.
It's been a while. It's
Like the Boston Celtics, who are rich in history, are building towards something. They're building that they just need to add different assets to. That's why I was like, all right, they've got Al Horford in. Right. He can play at 5, but also they could put him to the 4 if they're going to go in and get someone like DeMarcus Cousins, which has been rumoured as well. And I would like to see that happen. That's like building. You've got a all-star centre who's going to dominate no matter what. And Al Horford can play the 4, it's no problem. There was also other rumours that Jahlil Okafor was going to come in, potentially play the 5. He doesn't fit that need for them. He's not an all-star centre. He's not going to push Al Horford from the 5 to the 4 by bringing in Jahlil Okafor, because he's not going to be able to play that role as successfully as Al Horford would be able to play that role. So I don't like that trade rumour as much in my head, in the system, in my trade machine in my head. For some reason, I've got a solution as you keep Isaiah Thomas, you keep Marcus Smart, you keep that team, you add Al Horford, and then you find a way to add DeMarcus Cousins. And then you're an immediate contender to win the Eastern Conference. That's only because, I'm not saying if they add Russell Westbrook, they're not an immediate contender. They absolutely are.
I think what you're getting
I just think it's they keep the core system.
Well, it's very smart.
It's very Marcus Smart.
It's very Marcus Smart. What you're saying, though, is you already have an all-star point guard who, for some reason, people still doubt. And Isaiah Thomas is capable of scoring, attacking the rim. He even is developing a better mid-range shot, and his three-pointer, not necessarily the best in the NBA. However, the Celtics have three-point shooters, right? Now, you get DeMarcus Cousins in there, which is a very interesting point you're making. You get DeMarcus Cousins there, then you do push out Horford to the 4. And then you have a team centered by 3 all-stars and all NBA first, second, third team-esque players in Horford, Cousins, Thomas. You have wings, you can play defense. You have one of the most creative coaches in the league in Brad Stevens, who's been a major reason. How many times can we look at coaching and see how important it is in developing the systems that make these work? It's one thing to get the superstars there. It's another thing to take those superstars and turn them into champions. Yeah. Right? I look at teams like Terry Stotts and the Portland Trailblazers, who has done remarkable work, again, after losing 4 of their 5 starters going into last season and still overcoming. They got to beat a beaten-up Clippers team in the playoffs. However, they played who was in front of them, and they still made it to the second round and went 5 games with the Warriors. Didn't get swept. Damian Lillard, we know all that, right? I think Blake Griffin makes an interesting trade as well. Again, Russell Westbrook is would break the internet type of trade. So would Blake Griffin. He's another big draw. I mean, I think Celtics fans would love to see Blake Griffin jump out of the building with his ability, his athleticism. However, Westbrook, again, I don't think there's a right fit for Westbrook and Thomas to be on the floor at the same time. I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, and you make a good point as well, which I want to get onto before I get to the new points. We'll go back a couple of points before we get to the new point, and then we'll hit the 3-point before we get to the 2-point, right? So your point about the 3-point is so valid. Go back 5-6 years ago, Isaiah Thomas is on the tip of everyone's lips when it comes to all-star point guards. But Steph Curry's happened, and therefore people are now looking at point guards as scorers as well, right? Kyrie Irving now has changed and become a point guard that is allowed now to be a scorer because he looks as if he starts at the point, but LeBron James runs a point for that team and he's able to become a scorer, and that's how they go on and contend and go on and beat Golden State Warriors and win championships. So when the Celtics fans, and Jacory's in our booth here, he's a big Celtics fan, and I asked him, I was like, what do you think about Russell Westbrook? And he's like, he kind of reiterated my point as well. He's like, I like what we're working on. I like the combination of Thomas and Smart, and I'd like to add to that with Al Horford coming in. So I think if you bring in Russell Westbrook, to some fans, it's like, all right, we've got a scorer who's going to dominate. He's going to light things up in the playoffs. That's Russell Westbrook. But you need to have all the other pieces to that, because Oklahoma had a scorer, and they had a arguably top 3 best player in the NBA that season with Kevin Durant in there, and they still couldn't get it done. So I think it's fitting the system in amongst a great point guard, and it doesn't have to just be a scorer. He has to also work well defensively with the system, and all those pieces have to come together. And just my honest opinion, I may get torn apart for it. I think that bringing in Westbrook will mean losing Isaiah Thomas and potentially another couple big-name players in the Celtics, and I think that that's not going to be an immediate fix. I think that they're working towards something better. I think if you add in DeMarcus or someone else to maybe fill that role, I think that you're in a better stead to push someone like the Cavaliers.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, and especially given, look how the Pacers built in the offseason. And the Raptors, who are still going to be contending in the Eastern Conference. Again, getting to the finals looks like an entirely different scenario given what the Warriors are going to look like next year, even though their entire bench depleted. However, that's a team that likely is going to take down everybody.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to exactly happen, but I think one more move, and you can start making the argument, if DeMarcus Cousins would go to the Celtics, if Blake Griffin would go to the Celtics, or Russell Westbrook would go to the Celtics, Cavs, Celtics, Pacers, not that far off in terms of competitive balance with a Thunder, Clippers. I'm sorry, not Thunder. It would be Warriors, Clippers, Spurs.
But the funny thing is, Jay, we were talking about it where you were talking about this morning just at our desk. Every morning is basketball talk. That's why I'm always growing in my knowledge even at the morning when we're talking about it. And you said that you think the Spurs have a great chance of winning next season if they can try and find a way to defeat the Golden State Warriors. However, everything I just said about the Celtics, you could probably crumple up and throw out the window if Golden State go on and win this year. Because they're doing the exact... They've already kind of are ahead of everyone with their building process, right? And they built a system, and they built players around it, but then they just were like, all right, well, we had that building process, and it worked to a certain extent, but then we also come up against a team that had a locked-in all-star that you're going to need more than just a well-built system to beat, so bring in KD. And if they bring in KD, that's bringing in another immediate all-star, and we go on and win, then the Celtics would be like, all right, Francis, you're saying we're going to build, but this team just added another all-star, and they just went on and won. So all that bullshit you just said, get rid of it. We'll bring in Russell Westbrook, an immediate all-star, and we'll see if we can contend that way.
Right. I mean, again, it's just a matter. I think the Thunder want to trade Westbrook. Again, I'm being speculative because I'll wrap up with this. Sam Presti, one of the angles he could take is, it's a good sales pitch too. Russell, this could be your entire franchise. This could be your entire career. And trusting someone like Sam Presti is a good idea. He's only made good general management, GM moves, front office moves. Seriously, the Oladipo trade was a great trade. So he can say, you might want to go to a Celtics, something like that, but this could be your franchise, and maybe it's enough to make him re-sign. Or maybe Sam Presti feels the other opposite way is, we lost KD, we're probably going to lose, we possibly lose Westbrook. Let's get everything we can from a Celtics or a Clippers or a Kings or somebody to contend for years to come. Because again, KD and the Warriors, it looks like a 3-year, no one's ever going to win anything except them, right? But that might not be true.
Yeah. So
we don't know until it happens.
My last
Heat
question
didn't win in 2011.
My last question. I know we're getting the wrap up time, but I just want to know. This is just from my own knowledge of the game. I want to know how basketball fans think. Russell Westbrook goes to the Celtics. What is the response to that? Is it similar? I don't think it will be similar to KD.
Oh, it's so weak. They already have Al Horford, Isaiah Thomas. It's the Eastern Conference. It's not even that competitive. What a weak move. Actually, no one's going to say that because the Celtics didn't beat the Celtics didn't beat the Thunder. They didn't beat the Thunder. So it's not a weak move because the Celtics didn't beat the Thunder. It would be a competitive move, a good move, whatever.
This is me doing my horrible interpretation of an underarm alley-oop for you because I knew that was going to be the response. And that is going to be the response, by the way.
I'm going
of
to play
most
for
basketball
Sorry,
fans.
guys. I'm going to play for the Warriors.
Because it's not the Warriors, people will probably give Russell Westbrook a pass. That's the thing. If he goes to the Celtics...
What if he goes to the Warriors?
All right. Now we're just getting crazy.
DeMarcus, Russ to the Warriors. Comment below. Which one of these trades, I can make NBA trade machines for days. I do it with the Knicks all the time, and they never come true. But comment below with what you think. Should it be, I guess the question is, Blake to the Celtics, Russ to the Celtics, DeMarcus Cousins to the Celtics,
or all of them to the Celtics.
Or none of it, or some of it, or what combination? Love to get into debates in the comment section below. At Francis_Maxwell and at Francis Maxwell. Host on Instagram at JasonRubin91 for both. Pocket square on the table. See you tomorrow.
I got one chance. I got one chance.